Hello, my name is Charisse,
And I'm Mima,
and this is Abantu Means People,
where we speak all things music, life, and culture.
and the things that make us humans in our world.
Love it.
Sweet, so today we've got someone sitting with us, our first guest.
Woo, woo, woo.
We're super excited to get into a conversation about your journey, about music, about an incredible night that you run, which we'll talk about. And also, I think the overarching theme that we have, Mima, is about curating dance music spaces with care.
Exactly that.
And so that's kind of what we're going to be unpacking today. Mima, do you want to take off with what the first question is of the day, the introduction of our guest?
We got to say her name. We got Tad in the building.
Yes.
You can tell he's got the volume today. We got Tad in the building, who is the founder of Natives. First, how are you?
I'm good, I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming to join us.
We're so grateful for you to come and share the space with us today. I think the question that sort of popped into our minds, and I don't know why we didn't write it down before, but the name Natives, where does that come from?
It wasn't the first, idea. Went through lots and lots of ideas, and when I got to that one, it just kind of felt right at the time. Honestly, I wanted the event to be something that preserved something that was happening in London at the time that I felt I was losing as a consumer. And I just wanted to preserve that sort of feeling by way of the event.
So when I think about the word native, I think about belonging. And I also think about kind of indigenousness, like being at the beginning, at the core, at the birth of something, at the place where a way of life, a culture was invented, that these kind of ideas, the legacies that we continue are born. And when we're thinking about curating a space for people to come together in music, and you can speak about a little bit how you kind of would define the genres that your night is centered around. But when we think about those like genres, which are mainly in the kind of realm of African dance music and natives, I'd love for you to continue a little bit more in what the name means to you, what it makes you feel when you think about it, in line with what your intentions for the space are.
For me, as I said, it was really to sort of preserve something. I was so tapped into, so you said like African dance music, but in particular South African dance music was really woven into my life, and really brought something incredible to my life. And I just wanted a space that really showcased what that was. It's really a feeling more than anything. Music related, but it's the feeling that I got when I entered this space, the feeling that I had when I went to South Africa. It's those experiences bundled into one for me.
Yeah. So tell us about that feeling that you had when you went to South Africa. I would assume somewhere around that. Is that where your DJ journey started, or you were DJing before?
No, not even actually. So the first time I went to South Africa was in 2012. I'd done one event at a local bar in my area. I always kind of was fascinated with the dance music space. I guess at the time I didn't realise I was taking more of an interest in it than average. That sort of caught up with me later. I thought everybody was super tapped into this and looking up who the DJs were and what label released this track. I thought everybody was doing that. So it took a while for that to catch up with me. I've forgotten the question. Sorry.
It was where did this being in South Africa kind of opened up your world,
and what that experience was like.
Yeah.
I was a very, very shy human from childhood, and still can be now, even though it's quite hard to believe for some people. And when I went there, I just experienced this open-heartedness that I hadn't experienced in the UK. And I just thought that was the best thing ever. I just was blown away by like sisterhood, family, community, music. The whole thing just blew my mind. And I went there very specifically for Spring Fiesta in 2012. And before I'd even left, I'd done this one event, like I said, in a local bar. And before I'd even left, I was like, I want to do something as close as I can to Spring Fiesta here because it's just not happening. And in around 2010, the music scene here became fragmented. So it used to be before you'd go out to a house music night and you could hear soulful, Afro, tech, all under one roof and all from one DJ even, to be honest. And then around 2010, it's like all the publications became really focused on tech house or deep tech, however it's called now. And I saw the genres that I loved more starting to fade into the background. And at that time, I became super obsessed with like the dance music that had more African sounds, more ancestral kind of sounds. I was starting, the obsession was beginning already before I'd even arrived in South Africa. And before I left, I called somebody that I knew had access to venues. And I said, I want to do a South African festival here. I really want to do one. Do you have any venues? And he said, I might do. I said, well, I'm going to South Africa, so I'll call you when I get back. And I did call him when I got back. And realised that I'm biting off more than I could probably chew, spoke to a couple of friends of mine and told them my idea. And we sat together and they kind of made me realise that to do it top to bottom South African now is, you're just not going to get the numbers through and you're going to end up losing a lot of money. So why don't we try to bridge the two worlds? Right. You know, introduce people to South African dance music by way of the tech house that's so popular here. And so I set about putting on this event in Borehamwood, and the lineup it's like really a crazy lineup. I can't even believe I'm saying it, and it's related to me actually. But the headliners were the Martinez brothers. Who else was on there? Clive Henry, Francesca Lombardo. That's more from that world. And then from our world, Hulo de Song, Rocco, Manu. I mean, so many. Lots of local acts as well that were playing it. I mean, shout out Petite, who was one of the first, if not the first, definitely the first woman I ever heard playing those sounds here. She was on the lineup. It was like a real merging of tech and South African house music, and that's where the journey began. And I wasn't DJing at all. I didn't start until 2020 lockdown.
Wow.
Yeah.
So wait, Borehamwood, is that London?
Just outside.
Outside.
Oh,
Yeah, just
outside.
outside.
I haven't even heard of that.
Yeah, just outside.
Elstree and Borehamwood, right?
Yeah, just past Watford.
Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's amazing that, because so many things now, which we can come to later, are so London centric. I feel like there was a period, even when I think about a lot of the kind of early people migrating to the UK from Southern Africa, were living in these kind of outskirts towns and coming to work in these outskirts towns and kind of starting things just like community, getting together, gathering in these spaces. And also people were willing to travel to go for the music.
For sure. Yeah.
And I think we can come to later how that has kind of changed as the thing has become a lot more commercial than probably it was at the time.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah. I'd love for you to say, where in the UK are you from? Like London?
Yeah, London. South
okay,
London.
so you've always been a Londoner.
The best part of London.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
amazing.
It's
Best part of London.
Me
It
and
really
Rosa,
is. It really
I
is.
also love South London.
South London, it's just the best part of
It just
London.
has a vibe, doesn't it?
There's an energy.
I stopped off actually at Superdrug on the way here, and my sister rang and I said, South London really is its own thing, isn't it?
There's nowhere like it. Do you know that?
Yeah, really.
And South Londoners are very proud people too.
We are.
Like,
we actually are. We love it. Yeah, we love it.
Because I know that if I go to Brixton, for example, it's not going to be like Woolwich. If I go to Brixton, it's not going to be like Croydon. Like each of these places are pockets of its own
thing.
You know what I mean? Brixton Station, outside.
At any hour, by the way. Any hour.
any time.
They don't know. You speak about Culo de Song, like chef's kiss. What song changed your life? Not of his, but what song would you say was a turning point for you?
It was definitely 100 Zulu Warriors by Hulo.
Wow.
I can remember exactly where I was.
Tell us.
I was on the A12 and I was driving to my friend's house and I just heard this song and it was blowing my mind. I was like, oh my God, what is happening right now? And I just thought, who is this? It was the radio. I can vaguely remember who it was. His name was Jay, the guy on the radio.
Do you know what station it was?
I can't remember, actually.
Shout out Jay if this ever gets to you.
Yeah, I think it was Jay Russell. I'm pretty sure it was Jay Russell. Anyway, and I just heard him really casually say, 100 Zulu warriors, crew loader song. And I thought, no way. And I just kept saying it all the way to my friend's house. 100 Zulu warriors, 100 Zulu warriors.
So
The whole way.
remember it.
The whole way. Yeah, the whole way. And when I got there, you know, just in the kerfuffle, it had changed to 1,000 in my mind. So I put that into YouTube. Up came the song, and that really was a turning point for me. It just turned from I'm starting to like this music with these sounds to full on obsessed, just full on obsessed. So yeah, and it was this thread in my life that I knew it was there, and I was taking part. Sorry, excuse me, health condition.
That's okay.
I knew that this was a thing for me, but it didn't feel worky at all. It just felt like a hobby, I guess, or something I really loved. And in terms of work, I never felt passionate about anything. I did work, but I just didn't feel passionate. And I kind of got a bit depressed. Like, why do I have no passions? Why do I have this sort of apathy? And meanwhile, I was spending all of my time and all of my money on this.
Right.
So, yeah, it hit me one day. It caught up with me one day that, oh, girl, you're passionate about this.
Right. And so starting this night in 2012, this party that you threw then in Burham Woods, and at that time, was it called Natives yet? Or
No,
it was just something else?
It was actually called Festival 24, and it wasn't without its issues.
Which is actually leads to the question I wanted to ask you is, what did you learn from that? You said you realised I bit off more than I can chew. But then also, you now have a night that you run that is successful, that has a community, that is anchored in its curation, in what people come here for. And so how did you start there and end up here today? What were also the lessons that you learned from that night?
Well, the first glaring thing for me is don't go from doing an event in a local bar for about 200 people to a 2,000 capacity 24-hour. Like, why did I choose 24 hours? If I'd have just stopped at 12.
God.
If I'd have just stopped at 12. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, this big idea and I want to do it this way. And I'm even like that now.
Yeah.
Like, my support network have to say, okay, let's just let this one simmer for a while and see where we get to and refine this idea a bit, because I just have the idea and I want to do that. So I think the most glaring thing is you could have just kept it to regular festival hours and you would have been fine. What else did I learn? I learned so much. I don't know if I should or shouldn't mention this, but I ended up getting arrested for fraud and money laundering off the back of that.
Wow.
And from what I gather, it was just that where I had it, the neighbours were quite wealthy, well off, and used to their quaint little town, and not what happened.
Right.
And I think to pacify them, the local police just had to be seen to do something.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, how do you get from there to here?
Yeah.
Or I kind of took it as, why was there this long gap, really, between the two? It's that. It's like, whoa, so many different things happened, positive and negative, but so many like negative things happened that it really put me off for a while. And I guess it was the downtime in the lockdown where my passion had the chance to sort of tap me on the shoulder, and I paid it some attention again. And that's what happened.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I do love that kind of thing of kind of going, 24 hours is a huge thing to
2-4.
like the whole day and night to go for, but to have taken that leap and gone for it. And it's kind of an all or nothing kind of approach.
That is me to a T. It really is. And I need to understand that there's actually beauty in, being a bit more balanced.
Right.
Yeah.
And so lockdown, you say you kind of, your passion tapped you on the shoulder again.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
We all had time on our hands and breathing space. And I guess it was nothing more than that. I had the time, I had the headspace, and needed to do something because I'm not really a sit around person. I don't watch TV. So I needed to do something.
Right.
And I just, actually, it was events again. I was attending the not so legal events, and all you could find was tech and techno.
Okay.
And the shenanigans of it all was keeping me going for a while, but musically I was lacking. And
Right.
I went to this forest party. I won't say whose, but I went to this forest party, and even though the music wasn't great, it was really stunning. Like just being out, music, connection, the nature. It was really, really beautiful, and I thought this would be so dope with Afro. So I set about going to look for spaces to do this forest party. Scheduled that in, was booked it all in, and organised it all with some friends. And 2 weeks before, I was like, I think I want to play. So I went and got a controller and just practiced and practiced and practiced, and then that was the first gig I ever played, and I guess that's how it all came about. Yeah.
You have such a can-do attitude. And genuinely, I think that's what my mum would say. Just you are really wanting to can-do. But how important has that been? Not just in terms of we're speaking about your journey here, your musical journey, but in terms of your life, how important has that been for you?
Incredibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, incredibly. I come from a not privileged background, an underprivileged background, I guess. My parents' upbringing was, can we swear, a shit show? It was a shit show. And it sort of locks you in many ways, economically, socially,
Right.
lots and lots of different ways it locks you in. But one of the hardest ways to break free from is how it locks you in mentally.
Right.
And what you believe is possible. And I'm terrified of everything. Everything I do, I'm terrified. Every time I give something a go, I'm absolutely terrified. And I just learned through doing it anyway, oh, terror can exist and you can still do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can be absolutely terrified and just still do it. Okay, cool, I'm terrified, but I'm still going to do it. And I guess just pushing yourself and pushing yourself and pushing yourself, you learn what you're made of. And those risks or putting yourself out there or whatever it is that terrifies you becomes less scary over time. Yeah.
In terms of what you've completed or done so far in this last year, or we can even stretch it back to 5 years with Natives, what has scared you? What have you done?
Everything scares me. Honestly, everything scares me.
Or something that you're proud of doing that scared you? That you were like, oh, snap, I did that.
Holding it down for Natives, being consistent with Natives, yeah. That I'm quite proud of. That I managed to stick with that, because I was very inconsistent at first.
Okay.
It was like one party here, one there, and I don't know, finding my feet I didn't find so easy. Everything's very overwhelming and scary. And one day I was just like, I'm just going to see what happens if I'm consistent. Let's just try. And I've managed to somewhat stick to that, and I'm proud I did. Yeah, I'm happy I did.
It was something that me and Charisse actually spoke about when we were planning this episode, and Charisse, I don't think she remembers saying it, but credible consistency. I think that's something that Natives has, is credible consistency.
As opposed to churn, you mean? Like
Yeah,
churning? Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's a respectability that comes with it as well. Like, we can rely on you. What would you say are the pillars of Natives in terms of it being an entity? You're building an infrastructure, right? How have you built its credibility? Tangible things that you've done to build its credibility.
I think I've always, as much as possible, tried to have a people first, music second approach.
Right.
Because without the people, you could be playing music to nobody. Do you know what I mean? So essentially, they are the most important, and I've really tried to keep that front of mind and weave that into everything that I do with Natives. So yeah, I'd say people first, values, community, and music. Yeah, just being true to what I love in terms of music.
And I think that leads us really nicely onto the curation of the dance space. This episode is entitled Curating Dance Spaces with Care. What's the first thing that you think of when we say we're going to run a night? How does that go? What's that process like for you?
I mean, it's different now because I feel like I'm almost in the flow of things, and the next one's already in the pipeline before the current one's happened.
Exactly that.
So I'm sort of just in the flow of it. But in terms of curation and what I want to offer, I tend to go where I'm being musically drawn.
Okay.
I kind of trust that I like good music. So I always go after what I love. I go after what I love. I pick a headliner or somebody that I'd like to bring over from South Africa or wherever, but predominantly South Africa. And then I build the lineup around that person.
Right.
It's who I think complements them. It's variation throughout the night. What else is it? Usual things that any promoter's looking for: visibility, consistency, what people have been doing, in excuse me, in terms of support acts.
Right.
But yeah, generally, who I love musically, and also I guess for support more than anything because I'm not around the guys in South Africa so much. But for support acts, I definitely look for passion in people. Those people it just spills out of. Do you know what I mean?
It's a massive thing for you.
Yeah, huge, yeah. It makes me feel things.
Yeah.
And so I can trust that when they're on the decks at Natives, they're going to make people feel things.
Right.
Yeah.
Crying in the dancery. End
Sorry.
up crying in the dancery.
Yeah, for real.
Crying in the dancery.
I love that you say that you go by what you love and that is your compass. And I'm interested to just go back a little bit. So there was the first night that you had curated because of this love of the music. And then there was this period of kind of this hiatus before you came back to starting the night again. But I'm sure in between that, like you kind of said, at the core of it, you're a lover of music.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it was always you going out to other nights, even if you weren't running your own night, and listening to the music and listening to the DJs, to the artists, like the labels, everything that you've spoken about. I'd love to hear from you also, like outside of Natives, as a music lover and as a person who likes to be on dance floors.
Yeah.
What are the evolutions that you've seen of how the music has changed? So you started us off with talking about how there was a period where things were kind of layered and genre in a way, even if it's still within the same bracket of house.
Yeah.
But then moved into a space of being super focused on tech house and that kind of being at the center.
Yeah, it was.
You being really interested in Afro, and it's happening, you're hearing it at the time. And so in this kind of hiatus period, what were you observing changing to kind of where we are today? What are the biggest shifts that you've seen in this space of house music?
So honestly, I probably couldn't give you a very unbiased view because I became so laser focused on Afro. And so as a consumer, I was just seeking out Afro wherever I could find it.
And where were you finding it throughout over the years?
Amsterdam and Paris. And it was here, but it was so tiny. So somebody like Mixolis, who I've known for a very long time, he was tapped into it, and somebody who I kind of followed really, really early on. There are definitely a couple of promoters that I could mention, but I don't remember all of their names. I more remember the nights. Monate is another one. And then smaller things where these are things run by Southern Africans, and very early on there were a small number of London promoters who started to enjoy the sound and put on small nights. So watching it grow from something that was barely visible here to where it is today, there's so much evolution in that. Lockdown was a turning point though. It was kind of happening just before lockdown. I think when something big happens for an artist or a song, it really influences the producers back in South Africa. And so we can get this lean for a while. We're seeing it now with 3-Step, where there's a sort of lean towards that for a while. And there was a lean towards very European sounds. And that got adopted throughout Europe and here. And so that's another evolution that I kind of noticed. More recently, the 3-Step evolution and even the hybridized sound now that's coming out of Durban with Tuxin and Funky Kula. That's another evolution taking place. So yeah, there've been so many. You'd have to pick like a moment in time, I guess, for me to talk about how things were changing then, because it started so early, or I became like fascinated with it so early in its infancy, and I'm not sure how old is it now? Do you know what I mean? How old's our little baby now? Is how much more evolution are we going to observe with this thing?
I'm really interested, specifically focusing on Afro House, and I think there's a lot of conversations happening around it. And you've spoken about how there was a time where kind of things were becoming more European leaning, which I think is kind of happening again at the moment, where I guess the kind of way that people are speaking about it is in like the context of like the gentrification of Afro House.
Yeah.
But then there's also a lot of conversations around the origins of the genre, where, you know, which nation it belongs to. But I think that there has always this kind of been this connection between countries within Africa where different movements were happening in different places. And then especially in this context where we're coming from, where also you're saying that you were experiencing in Amsterdam and in Paris.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time that's diaspora, right? It's people from different places living. And so when we're thinking about that, like the diaspora in the UK is different to the diaspora in Amsterdam, is different to the French diaspora. And so probably experiencing slightly different variations of Afro depending on which part of Europe you're in. But when you think about the current state of Afro House right now, which is a huge topic at the moment, what do you feel? What do you think?
I feel like it's something that I kind of saw coming. The conversation, saw it coming for a long time before it sort of gained traction online. The conversation, I guess, and I guess by now I don't dwell on it so much, and I don't find it as triggering, but that might be because I've got natives and I can, like I say, express or try my hardest to express this in the way that feels the most authentic. And so I focus on that rather than focus on this conversation that kind of feels a bit old to me, you know?
I'm going to exclude myself.
Yes.
From that. I guess the next question is, we're talking about this, what propaganda are you not falling for? And what we mean by that is, what are you not subscribing to? You've told us what you aren't really subscribing to, but what is something that you're like, yeah, no, you can leave me out of it?
I feel like, am I going to get myself in trouble again?
Protect you.
And I don't mind anyway. Okay, let me think. Trying to diplomatically say what I just want to say. I'm not falling for calling I don't know how to word it.
Just say as is. It's okay.
There are different pockets of people where Afro house means completely different things. And I even think that's almost too far gone to change. So I don't just want to sit here and have a rant and a moan about it, but I find that really difficult. I find calling something Afro house when it's actually not, and I'm struggling to find the link between the two. I really dislike that. And I think the platforms that uphold that and make no mention of like what I would perceive to be like real authentic Afro house, that gets on my nerves a bit, to be honest with you. It gets to me a little bit. I still do find it a little bit triggering because, no, what do you mean? Like, you can't erase, you know, you said there's been lots of arguments about who created this, but nobody denies that in terms that Afro house originated in, well, I don't know, they do argue about it, but South Africans have been pioneers of the Afro house movement, and so to exclude them from the conversation is crazy to me.
I think also at the very core, the thing I find interesting that is like, you know, when it comes to which nation or whatever, that can be a bit more nuanced and, you know, have layers, but the thing that's glaring to me a lot of the time is that the Afro, like the actual root of the word itself, is Africa, right? The African continent. And then I guess there's also the like conversation about, and because they are at the center, to be honest, of this kind of other version of it, this Eurocentric version of it, is like the kind of musification of Afro House.
Yeah.
Which I think is really
Are they getting a bad rap?
interesting.
Because they are being held like sort of as the people to blame for this. But are they?
I wonder, I don't even know if it's necessarily that it is, they are the creators, the cause, but they are definitely the faces of.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's what I was saying. When we think about this kind of style of Afro House, that is, you know, and so like, so I was watching this other conversation where people kind of talk about this selling, what was this guy? He said something about selling expensive hummus and this kind of really, this experience and this, the style of the music itself, like it's very kind of, the chords are a particular way, it's stripped back in a particular way, the vocals are done in a particular way, where there's, but which happens all the time, which you've said that when one song hits,
there's a lean
towards it, which you've spoken about. But because at the moment, I think the biggest figures, aside from maybe somebody like who has a long-standing history, someone like Black Coffee, beside him, the biggest people in what is kind of widely now understood as Afro House is them.
Yeah.
And they're doing these huge, like hundreds of thousands
Massive
capacity places in all different corners of the world, that I think a lot of people are almost looking up to that as the goal, even to end up on that stage is like, you've made it. It's like a stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because there is an erasure of all of the people that have been
that came before,
part of it, you know. Yeah.
I sort of sense that after lockdown there was sort of this change of era, and even in like younger consumers' attitudes, not like they have a bad attitude, just their approach towards the music, there seems to be like this complete like they just genuinely don't seem to care about the history of it. It's like it all started that day they got involved. Do you know what I mean? That it all began that day, and I don't know, it's just so important, everything that came before that time. And I think that sort of reset or era change has allowed something like that to just flourish and take place. I couldn't have imagined that happening 5 years or so prior to lockdown. I couldn't have imagined that taking place, where you know, Afro House this, Afro House that, and it's like, well, where are the Africans? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, well, I say this because there are lots of conversations that happen not in public forums and that don't make it to Instagram or TikTok, but they happen and they're in the community, and people are afraid to have them publicly. But what are we doing? Like, why do we feel like we can't be open and just have open dialogue about this, even with the people? Not saying that we need to sit down with kind of music, but do you know what I mean? Like, even with people that have opposing views to us, why can't we just have this dialogue? The fact that we can't be open about it, or that we all are so scared that if we are honest about how we feel about this, that we'll be locked out of this situation or excluded from this network. It's kind of, it's, to me, it's then saying, well, you have gentrified this and you are taking it and running with it and you are excluding the people that should be included, because we can't just be honest and just have these conversations openly.
So if you were to take the pulse of the industry right now, the sector that you're in, what would the health check be like?
I don't know if I can give you an honest answer, because I've tried to just keep my head down and stay focused on natives. And that's been self-care for me, actually, if I'm
that was
really
even
honest.
one of our questions, actually.
Oh, really?
How do you look after yourself?
By trying not to look up and look around too much. Because there are things that I find triggering, or there are ways that I feel, I don't know if excluded is the word. I had this conversation with somebody on the way here, actually. In music, it's very easy to feel unseen. And you have to manage your mental health around that. And I find it easier to do that if I just keep my head down and focus on what I love, which is natives. Yeah.
I think it's also about being solution oriented as well. You know, it's like striking that balance between having the conversations, but after we've had the conversations, what do we do? How do we take action?
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like having something that, like, you know, these thoughts, these frustrations that you feel, the things that you're observing, it's like, well, I'm curating what it is that I want to see, what I hope for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm in one breath trying to hold on to a time that just was so meaningful to me. I really honestly felt like when I first entered into the Afro house space, it wasn't even called Afro house. It was just, it didn't have a name actually. It was just what it was. And it was much the same feelings that I had when I went to South Africa, of like community, connection, all of these beautiful things alongside this beautiful music. Oh God, I've forgotten what the question was or where I was going with that. My apologies.
It's all good.
Yeah, so it's just really about holding on to that because it was so beautiful. And I think commercialization disrupted something that was happening.
Right.
And something that was very important around that time when everything became very tech house. The energy wasn't the same in a lot of the events, not all of them, but in a lot of the events, the energy wasn't the same. It wasn't uplifting. It wasn't about connecting with each other. It had a much darker energy that came with a much darker sound. And so when I went off into this Afro space, it was just like a breath of fresh air. And I want to a breath of fresh air, and there was a flow happening. It was getting bigger. It was very slow, but it was getting bigger. It didn't have the platforms behind it. It didn't have at the time Mixmag saying Afro House this, Afro House that,
Right.
or any platform, not necessarily Mixmag, but any platform. It didn't have that behind it, but it was growing and it was doing something so special for the diaspora here. Really, really special. And then it felt to me like it got intercepted, and that flow kind of stopped or was cut off for a while. And I just want to bring something through natives that is representative of what was happening, which was stunning for people here. Needed. A lot of people didn't even realise they needed it until it was here. And it would be so sad to lose that, I think. It was doing something amazing for us.
Your tagline for natives is inclusive...
Tribe, unmatched
vibes.
Yeah.
Inclusive tribe, unmatched vibes. I really enjoy hearing you speak from a consumer lens, and you understand that. Like you understand the fact that someone's buying into something as you have bought into something. What's something that's so key when crafting your nights? You speak about the good old days in a way.
Yeah, I do.
What is something, and it's important.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you can see within your event that you've brought from that time?
I think it's the feeling on the dance floor. Like how people feel, like they feel like you can just walk up to somebody and start a conversation. You can share a smile with a stranger. That feeling of connection. That's what I hope to bring from that time into now. And
you have your Come Alone scheme, which I think is fabulous.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I think, as I was saying before, I try to be people first, music second. And I was just trying to think of ways that I can really be people-centered. And I know lots of people go out alone, but I didn't realise until I started this how many people would rather just have somebody to connect with.
Yeah.
There are so many people that want to connect with people and make new friends. There are some people that don't want to hang out with the ambassadors. They just want a point of contact for the night.
Yeah.
And then they're happy to go off by themselves. It started just as an idea and then made me realise, oh, wow, there's a whole community of people.
There's a need.
Yeah, there's a whole community of people here that appreciate this and it's doing something for them and helping them to feel connected and helping people to make new friends. It's a beautiful thing. So I just kept it going and yeah, here we are.
And it's like over 100 people have come through that scheme?
Yeah, so we get about, it depends, it varies on the size of event, I guess, but on the last event, we had about 10 or 15 people come alone.
That's nice.
Yeah, and it was a smaller event than we'd done before. So yeah, we get quite a few requests. People who, they often mention it, but they haven't taken the leap yet. People who come alone now and they don't need the ambassadors anymore. Like, it's really
nice.
A thing of its own now, which is cute. I like it.
And what would you define community as? What's your definition of community? Because it's visible. The one thing that I will know is natives is visibly putting themselves forward and saying, this is a space for everybody. Come hang with us.
Yeah.
No cool kids, or we are all the cool kids.
Yeah,
in a way,
that's
right?
it. Yeah, that's
We're
exactly
all cool
it.
kids.
Yeah.
Let's come and hang together. What would your definition of community be?
I think it's the place where you feel most at ease, I guess, and connected, and where the relationships you want to invest in are. Yeah, mostly that, like a place where you feel love, I guess. That's really what I want it to be. A place where you feel love and free to be yourself, and no judgment, and held sometimes, you know. Like, there's so many different things that community do for you. I could list them all, but those are the things that I really want people to feel. I want you to feel held.
There was something you said earlier as well, that for me, when I think about community, I also think about being able to disagree with one another but still respect one another. Because there's something you said earlier about having disagreements or opposing views but still being able to have conversations. And I think a lot of the time, in this kind of way that community is spoken about as like a buzzword, it's that we all just have to agree on everything.
Yeah, which is... And
if you don't think things in the same way, then I'm just going to come and
attack
you. But when we understand community, especially in the context of the communities that raise us culturally, a lot of the time as Black people of varying like points of heritage, I think a lot of the time when I think about growing up in the communities that I saw modeled for me, it was, how do we band together to survive, to build, to grow? And it wasn't always that we were on the same side on everything, but that the core values that we had, or the core mission that we had, we could come together on that.
Yeah, sure thing. I think that conflict resolution isn't something that many people get taught or even get really good examples of.
Talk it.
Yeah.
That was very aggressive, but talk it!
And I think, actually, as you just said, that is a key part of community.
Right.
A really key part of community. So, yeah, something that should be emphasized, you know. It isn't just only just love and this and that and the other. You are going to fall out. My sisters and I are a good example. We fall out, but we know we're in each other's lives forever. Do you know what I mean? She is, or they are, my community. Like, we'll have an argument, but we're going to find a way to fix this. Yeah. Committed to each other, I guess it is as well, isn't it? Community, a commitment to each other.
I also really wanted to ask you. So you spoke earlier about the commercialization of something that at the beginning didn't even have a name.
No.
And now is something that there's a whole brand you can build around it, a whole legacy. But then on top of that, it's this balance that I imagine you have to find between approaching something from, I love this and I'm moving with where my heart calls me towards. But at the same time, there are aspects of the fact that I'm running a business.
Right.
And in that, it's like, sometimes are there compromises that you have to make, or are there sacrifices that you have to make?
There should be.
And what are the challenges, you know, in maintaining something? Because there are so many things that I think a lot of people don't know about what it takes to put a night on.
Oh, for sure.
And especially do one consistently. Like, I know for myself, even with Abantu, I always say I'm not a promoter. I do like 1 or 2 nights a year, and I give myself all the space and the time to just do the thing that I want to do on that one night without the pressure of knowing that I have to sell amount of tickets every month.
Okay, yeah.
Or every other month, because that is a lot of work within itself. And there are so many factors of things to think about. There's logistics, and especially, you know, when you're flying acts in, and you're also dealing with like teams, and you're dealing with how the actual economy is changing. So what venues, what their costs are, how much drinks cost, what the overheads are. There are so many things that go into the night that we want to be on the dance floor for coming together. So I guess the core question is, like, what are the challenges? What are the sacrifices?
So you touched on, how do you separate your love and emotion, I guess, and turn that into a business, and or have your business mind on. And honestly, I'm not so good at it. I would it's more important to me to make sure the offering is right than to like, oh, you know, we're not going to make much profit, or do you know what I mean? and it's kind of backward, and I need assistance with it, if I'm honest with you. My mentor will laugh that this question came up, because he often tells me that I just think too emotionally, or I'm too emotionally invested. And it's like, this is a business, you know. He says it all the time. So honestly, I don't think I'm very good at that. I think it does mean too much to me, if I'm really honest with you. And so I will make sacrifices. I will put my own money in to stretch the budget if I think it makes sense. I do just totally approach it from my heart, if I'm really honest. And I know I shouldn't, and I am working on changing it, but I don't want to lose that, to be honest, because I think it ties into what this is and the energy that I'm able to offer, I guess. I don't want it to become just business. It would suck all the fun out of it for me. Yeah.
I understand that. And sometimes I think the other chat is that not every endeavour has to be an endeavour that intends to be lucrative.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, if it is that the main overarching thing that's important to me for this is to maintain the integrity and to maintain this like feeling that I had, then the success is in having maintained that feeling. Like you said earlier, that one of the things you're most proud of is the consistency of it. And I think and not even say like in a time, because I think that has always been a thing, but often when people kind of measure success, they measure it on, like how much money did you make?
Yeah.
How many? And it's like, that's not always the metric that
I've really had
matters
to
the most.
I've really had
as long
to
as you're surviving and you're fine.
I
know
suppose,
what I mean?
yeah. True. However, it's so much work. Like, it is so much work. And if I could get it to a place where it produces enough money that I can alleviate myself of some of that work, then that would be great. And so therefore I do kind of have to start thinking a bit more like a business. But I will never be able to lose the passion and the emotion around it is what keeps me going. So I'll never be able to lose that, I think.
I'd be controversial and say that caring is good.
I think so.
I think caring...
think
me and Charisse had this conversation. I think even yesterday we were talking about caring. To care is to care. Like, to care is to know.
Yeah.
You know your stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, making a buck, but you don't seem to care too much about that.
It's very meaningful to me. And I think everybody, I think everybody's music journey is interlinked with their like personal development journey.
Okay.
Like, I think the things you needed to be more of, it helps you to achieve that. The things you needed to be less of, it helps you to achieve that. It kind of is really linked to me growing as a person. And so I guess some of the value and the, as Charisse said, success comes from that too, rather than just like focusing on finances. I'm not even built that way, to be honest with you, but I do want to learn and develop in that way too.
There was something you said earlier. So we spoke about how when you're there's so much noise, there's so many things happening in the industry, and there's this big space where there are so many things going on, but keeping your head down and just focusing on natives and like building natives. And also there was something you said about at times feeling excluded from the DJing perspective of kind of being on the peripheries of things. And so I guess it's a two-part question because there was a question that me and Mima were speaking about earlier about how it feels to be the only voice in the room that's kind of speaking about something, because when we're talking about community or we're talking about the music industry, and kind of even when you're saying earlier that you could kind of see a particular conversation, you could foresee it was going to happen at some
sure
point.
Thing. Yeah.
And have there ever been points where you've tried or made efforts to connect with other parts of this space and this music that you love, or to try and band together to say, hey, I'm seeing this, or maybe I'm concerned about this, or kind of wanting to be a part of the wider industry? And where do you stand with that? Is it that I'm kind of prepared to do this in this space and connect with those who want to connect with me? Or has there ever been an interest in kind of it being something that sits within this like wider thing? I don't know if like the core of the question is coming across.
Sort of. I feel like the new Afro, or after the era change, after lockdown, there were new key players in the scene. And honestly, I felt like those key players, I think, had a duty to honour the existing community, and I don't think that happened. And I know actually that various people that were part of the community felt different things about this happening, but it was all conversations that were happening behind closed doors. And so to answer your question, have I ever gone to have those conversations? I wasn't ever in a position. I was an ambassador for the sound. I wasn't a DJ, I wasn't a promoter, I was none of those things.
You just loved
sound. I was just like a super consumer, so I didn't feel like it was my place to, and therefore I didn't. And also, I'm, as I said, led by emotion, and so what I did do was say something that was very honest, and truly how I felt, but it kind of pointed the finger at someone or some people, and I feel like that led to not an exclusion, but definitely not open arms, like it impacted potential relationships. Now, how much that matters to me, not hugely. Like these are not people you call in an emergency. Like they're not my close inner circle. Like it's not that much of a big deal. But it didn't ever feel like that conversation was on the table.
Right.
If I'm honest with you. And I guess that's why I just acted out of emotion, because the conversation wasn't on the table. And it wasn't me that was in a position to be able to lead it. But I was feeling all of these things because I felt so bonded to it. And I suppose off the back of those comments that I made, amongst others, I did feel excluded, or I did feel like I said, it wasn't just open arms. I could see communities forming, and I just didn't feel like they were communities I was ever going to be accepted into. And then I just thought, oh, fine, I like my community and I'll just build that. And, the adjacent communities, I love them too, and I'm cool with that. And I just found my feet and found my happiness and my happy place, and I'm kind of there now. So I'm not, like I said, those conversations seem kind of old to me now. Like, what's the point in having them so late? We should have had them at the time everybody was feeling something and people were just so scared to say anything, that they were never had. And I don't see them. Do I see them happening now? Maybe. But it would feel a little bit too late, if I'm honest. Doesn't mean that it's like conflict or like, no, and you're there and or any conversations can be had. But that particular conversation, it's just a bit too late. Because nothing can be done till that's happened now, and we can't change what's already happened. Yeah.
And what lessons have you learned that you would pass on?
Love that question.
So I think there are so many people that are starting nights. Almost every other, there's so many new things at the beginning.
For sure.
I think every day something new is
there
popping up.
is, yeah.
And even, for not just promoters, but also DJs, people that are coming into the space for the first time. And I love that you speak about feeling like your voice, like you couldn't say anything because I'm not like a stakeholder in this thing. I just love the music. And someone who I know that you're also, get along with, who I also love dearly, Asanda London. And I think she speaks about that a lot, and the importance of the voices of the people that are on the dance floor. And I think more sometimes than the DJs and the organizers, they really know, because they are the ones that are buying the tickets, leaving their houses in the dance floor from the beginning to the
investors.
end, experiencing it literally.
Exactly that.
And so their perspective also isn't anchored in a bias that if it's my night, I'm going to have particular feelings and emotions about it because it's mine. And if I'm the DJ, this is my job, this is my this. Whereas we're here on the dance floor as to experience what you are putting out into the world and offering. And so that is probably the most accurate perspective that there is, and which is why you say that you champion people first, on the dance floor. But for people that are coming into the space from whatever angle, what are the lessons that you've learned that you would say, hey, this is what you should look out for when you enter this space?
In terms of like the industry?
Anything, the industry, but yeah, I'd actually say let's focus on
the sector
industry
itself. Yeah.
I would say keep your ego and your mental health intact, and don't underestimate the importance of doing that, because it's a space where I've seen people's mental health unravel, and so therefore it's a common problem in the space. And you can't overlook that. So I'd say take care of your ego, and because it's very easy. It's an outward facing roles, scarcity mindset kind of makes people think that there's not enough to go around. Your ego can get out of hand. Your mental health can unravel. So I'd say prioritize those things, and self-care. That is self-care. So take care of yourself. Your network is everything. Your community is everything. Embed in and don't embed because you want something out of it. Embed because these are your people, because this is your community. Embed because you want to invest in them the way that you would like people to invest in you. Even though I'm with Asanda and I'm with you, and people's voices and opinions are important, but I'd still say be considered when you're speaking outwardly, because everything you say in a public forum is going to hit people, different people, and it's going to hit them differently
at different times as well.
You are in control of what you say. You're not in control of what people then take and do with what you say.
Right. How they receive it.
Yes, exactly. So I would say definitely that's something that needs to be looked at. Massive lessons for me around that. And don't forget that you got involved in it because you're passionate about it, because you can get so bogged down with trying to be consistent, stay on top of things, polish your offering, constantly evolving. So be grounded as well as another one. Try to stay grounded. I think that does more for you than delusions of grandeur.
Before we start looking to the future and what tomorrow looks like, who is one Afro, I'll say Afro, it could be tech or house, who is one artist you think the world should know about?
I definitely think Funky Kular is a special artist. That the way he's refined and perfected that hybridized sound that incorporates so many of the subgenres, he just does it to a T. There's so much emotion in his music. His relationship with rhythm is beautiful. I'm a super fan right now. So that's somebody that I just am rooting for and just want to see him just go up and up and up and up, because I just think it's beautiful stuff.
Such a massive compliment.
I love the relationship with rhythm. When you said that, I was like, ooh.
Poetry. Honestly, it really is
something
something
else for you. Relationship with rhythm. And now looking to the future and looking for tomorrow, you have raised a really big thing, which is a lot of conversations happen in silo. And either people, one is scared to speak out, or there are not enough spaces that are crafted that we can have an open conversation like this. What is something that you think the space, the industry needs that you haven't seen yet, that you think is really, really important and needs to be there?
Open dialogue between the different pockets of people, and truly open dialogue where you enter the space knowing that you might hear some shit you don't like, that irks you a little bit, but does it make it less true? Does it make it less valid? No, we have to have this open dialogue. And I think that leads the way for everybody to flourish and for everybody to feel seen.
Right.
And maybe it's all a bit kumbaya, and I don't know if
we believe in kumbaya over here.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah. I think open dialogue. Open dialogue and a willingness to admit that, okay, I might be ignorant about this, but I'm willing to have the conversation, you know?
And I think there's something that was really pivotal that was said earlier in terms of disagreeing with someone doesn't mean we're not friends today.
No, it doesn't.
Conflict resolution doesn't mean we're not friends today.
It gets tricky when it's around core values.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It can get really tricky. But is it impossible in terms of what we're discussing here now? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I guess kind of coming to the end of our conversation now.
I feel like
which
we
has
could sit
been
with
so-
Tan
yeah.
forever.
I can talk for
It's
England,
been
guys.
brilliant.
And I've just warmed up. I was a bit nervous at first, but now I'm
I
like,
think
let's go.
You've said
No,
so
it's
many
been brilliant.
things that I know a lot of people that when we watch, I think when we even watch it
Yeah.
back, we'll have so many more questions. And obviously you've got a big couple of months coming
Yeah.
up. Tan! Like, what is something that you need? And I really wanted to be specific about this question in terms of, me and you've had a discreet conversation in terms of what it takes on for you to put on these nights. What would you need from people, from your peers, in terms of Charisse? You can see Charisse. But what is something that you think would be so beautiful and important to natives, something that can be provided?
More collaboration, I think,
Yeah.
is what I would really like. Yeah, I'd like to do more collaborative events, and that's actually going to be my approach for next year. In terms of the space, what do I need? I think that's it, really. Collaboration, yeah, and more. I can never tire of that sense of community, and skill sharing, I think, is a good one. Something that we kind of, or I haven't seen done so much in this space, where we sit and we're willing to, and just, do you know what I'd really love to see? I'd love to see us put to bed some of the kind of older notions, because I've, lived through some through a period of dance music, and I've often heard people say, we didn't support each other. If only we'd stuck together, if only we'd collaborated more. And I don't want to be part of that gang that was like, if only we had. I'd really like to be part of the,
We did.
yeah, part of the group of the people that, even if we didn't get there, but we triggered something, and then the people that come after us, do you know what I mean? We see it play out. I'd really love that. That would be like the pinnacle of this for me.
I believe in your vision, man.
And I really like the collaboration because in the sense of, again, contending with some of the larger things within the space, I think when we're able to band together those that are kind of aligned in a particular kind of same mission and these core values we're talking about, where it's like kind of sharing resources, sharing community, and when some of the larger issues that are more difficult to contend with, that we have a better chance of tackling them when we're kind of, together
100%.
than doing things in these pockets. So then I think last question is, what's coming up? What's the future of natives? Anything you want to talk about?
Yes,
what can we be excited about?
I don't know when this airs, but I'll shamelessly plug the next Natives, which is the 14th of November. Sunel's coming back. Really excited to have him back. Had lots and lots of the Natives community asking to have him back. So, yeah, we're going to close off the year with Sunel. And then in terms of next year, I'm trying to get my ducks in a row early. So that I have the headspace to then approach people and say, hey, listen, this is what I have, and I'm really interested in collaborating with you. Is it something that sounds interesting? Rather than going and saying, I'd like to collaborate, and we're just at ground zero. There's nothing on the table. So that's where my head's at for the rest of this year.
Amazing!
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
And the first one, I
I'm
feel
super
it feels like
excited
a
about this.
privilege to be here and like get the first pancake.